It was a typical Friday afternoon in my calculus class at Jefferson High School in Portland, Oregon. 7th period, last class of the day, and spring break was just hours away. You could feel the restlessness in the air. Everyone was mentally checked out, counting down the minutes until freedom. Our teacher, Mr. Patterson, was one of those rare educators who actually understood teenage psychology. Instead of forcing us through another grueling lesson when he knew nobody was paying attention, he pulled up Sporkle on projector and was letting us play trivia games. We were in the middle of a brand logo quiz, laughing and shouting out answers, when my friend Liam correctly identified Adidas. That's when everything changed. Principal Morrison's voice crackled through the intercom, and immediately I knew something was wrong. His usually calm, authoritative tone was replaced with something I had never heard before: raw panic. Teachers, this is not a drill. Initiate lockdown procedures immediately. The words hung in the air for a split second. Then Mr. Patterson, who moments ago had been joking with us about sneaker brands, sprinted across the room. His face had gone pale. He slammed the lights off and started frantically waving us toward the back corner. Move now. We scrambled to the corner in near silence, the only sounds being shuffling feet and nervous breathing. I pressed my back against the cold concrete wall and felt goosebumps explode across my arms. Around me, I could see wide eyes reflecting the dim emergency lighting from the hallway. Then, 2 minutes into our huddle, the constant electrical hum from the ventilation panel suddenly stopped. The school had cut the power. Total silence filled the room except for our breathing. Sarah, sitting next to me, grabbed my arm so tight it hurt. We all understood what this meant. Whatever was happening, it was serious enough for the administration to shut everything down. We waited. 5 minutes felt like 50. Then we heard it. A man's voice, distant at first, screaming incoherently down the hallway. The sound grew louder, closer, accompanied by the violent clanging of metal on metal. He was banging on the lockers. "I'll kill all of you." The voice was raw, unhinged, barely human. Emma and Madison started crying, quiet, terrified sobs that they tried to muffle with their hands. Their fear was contagious. My heart was hammering so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. This wasn't a drill. This wasn't some troubled student having a meltdown. This was something far worse. The screaming grew louder, closer. Then the banging shifted from lockers to our classroom door. Bang, bang, bang. No! Madison screamed, unable to contain her terror. "Open up! Open this door!" The man was right outside, pounding so hard I thought the door might actually break. Mr. Patterson held a finger to his lips, his own hands visibly shaking. 4 of us were crying openly now. The pounding continued, relentless, furious, terrifying. It felt like it went on forever, though it was probably only 2 or 3 minutes. Finally, mercifully, the banging stopped. We heard his footsteps and incoherent screaming fade down the hallway. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. We just sat there, pressed against the wall, waiting. About 10 minutes later, though my sense of time had completely dissolved, Principal Morrison's voice returned to the intercom. He sounded exhausted but more controlled now. What he said next shocked me almost as much as the incident itself. The immediate threat has passed. An individual experiencing a mental health crisis entered the building for the main entrance and physically assaulted our receptionist, Mrs. Chun, who managed to escape and alert authorities. We were unable to determine if this individual was armed. Staff has swept the building and have not located the intruder. However, as a precaution, all classroom doors will remain locked, and no students will be permitted to leave for any reason until we receive clearance from law enforcement. This was back in 2014, before Jefferson had security cameras or even a single security guard. The front desk was just open. Anyone could walk in. We spent the rest of the period in near silence, pretending to work, but really just staring at nothing, processing what happened. The real nightmare came later that evening when the rumors started spreading through group chats and social media. Tyler, whose mom worked as a night custodian, shared what she found during her shift. The intruder, sleeping in a storage closet near the back of D-Wing, and protruding from his jacket pocket, a .44 Magnum. Apparently, she'd accidentally woken him by opening the closet door. By the time police arrived 15 minutes later, he'd vanished into the night. To this day, 5 years later, I have no idea if they ever found him. I like to think he's getting the help he clearly needs. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear that voice in my head. I'll kill all of you. And I remember how thin our classroom door suddenly seemed. I was in 7th grade at Riverside Middle School in Sacramento, California, when it happened. Our school had split lunch periods. 6th graders and half the 7th graders ate first, then the rest of 7th and all 8th graders ate second. I was in the first lunch period. It was early October, one of those gray, drizzly days with sky looked like concrete and everything felt vaguely depressing. I was sitting with my friends Aiden and Kayla at our usual table near the windows, complaining about our upcoming history test, when I heard it. Boom, 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 for loud bangs in rapid succession. Thunder, I said automatically, glancing toward the rain-streaked windows. But then the entire cafeteria erupted in screaming. Kids were jumping up from tables, some running, others frozen in place. I thought they were overreacting. It was just thunder, right? Then campus security burst through the double doors, their faces severe. Everybody into the multipurpose room, now. Move. Officer Davies was shouting, something I'd never seen him do before. He was usually the guy who joked with us about football scores. The kids in the lunch line were being told to dump their trays and abandon their food. People rushed toward the multipurpose room in a chaotic surge. Aiden grabbed my backpack and pulled me along with the crowd. The multipurpose room was massive. It doubled as our gymnasium and auditorium. The entire back wall was floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out onto the faculty parking lot and the residential street beyond. As we piled with what felt like hundreds of other students, I could see staff members frantically pulling the heavy curtains across those windows. Adults positioned themselves at every exit, not just standing there, but blocking them completely. The room filled with confused, frightened voices. What was happening? Was this a drill? Did someone have a gun? My friend Eric, who was braver than the rest of us, walked up to Ms. Rodriguez, the vice principal, and asked what was going on. When he came back, his face was pale. You know those houses directly across from the school? He asked. Yeah. Kayla and I said together. There's some guy. They said he's mentally ill, who barricaded himself on his front porch. He's threatening to kill himself and shoot any cops who try to evict him. And apparently, Eric lowered his voice. He was standing outside the school property earlier, just watching kids. Like, really watching them, in a creepy way. My stomach dropped. That's what those sounds were? Gunshots. Eric nodded. 4 shots. Not thunder. Kayla grabbed my hand. Oh my God. It gets worse, Eric continued. Ms. Rodriguez said he's a registered sex offender. We sat on the gymnasium floor for over an hour, through what should have been the rest of lunch and all of fourth period. Rumors spread like wildfire through the crowd. Some kids said he had a shotgun. Others said he had multiple weapons. Someone claimed they'd seen him loading ammunition on his porch. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they started dismissing us row by row, escorted by staff members back to our classrooms. The rest of the day was a wash. None of the teachers even pretended to teach. We just sat there, processing. Later that evening, I was texting with my friend Chloe, who lived on the same street as a school. She told me something that still gives me chills. "That guy lives right next to my house," she wrote. "Last Halloween, I saw him standing at his window. He was cutting his arm with something and writing on the glass in his own blood. It said, 'Don't come here or I'll kill you.' I stared at my phone in horror. What? Why didn't you tell anyone? I thought it was just a Halloween decoration, like fake blood and stuff. Everyone thought it was just really intense decorating. But after the lockdown, after learning what he was capable of, we all knew the truth. That hadn't been Halloween decoration. That had been a genuine threat from a deeply disturbed man who lived 50 yards from where we ate lunch every day. I'm in high school now, and that guy doesn't live there anymore. I heard he was finally institutionalized after the incident, but I still think about how close he was. How many times I'd walked past that house. How easily something far worse could have happened. I'm 22 now, fresh out of college with a degree in computer science. Through a stroke of luck and some good connections with my former teachers, I landed a job as an IT intern at Lincoln High School in Seattle, Washington. My old high school. It felt surreal walking those halls again, but this time with a staff badge instead of a backpack. My office was in the school basement, which sounds worse than it was. Sure, the basement itself was a maze of old storage, ancient textbooks, and forgotten furniture. But the IT office? That was actually pretty nice. 3 large desks, 2 mini fridges, a mounted flat-screen TV, and the real luxury, functional air conditioning. The students and teachers upstairs sweltered in the Seattle heat, but we were comfortable. I shared the office with 2 other tech guys. Dave, a 30-something programmer who'd worked there for years, and Gary, the network administrator who was basically keeping the school's ancient infrastructure alive through sheer willpower and duct tape. They were good guys. We joke around, share food, talk about video games. It was honestly a great first job. The only weird thing about our setup was that we didn't actually have a door to the office, just a large doorway opening. And the door to the basement itself had a lock that hadn't worked in probably a decade. The school kept saying they'd fix it, but soon in school administration speak meant never. It was a Wednesday in late September, around 12:30 p.m. Dave and Gary were both upstairs dealing with some printing crisis in the English department. I was alone in the office, eating a turkey sandwich and scrolling through Reddit when my desk phone rang. It was Janet from the main office. Her voice was tight, controlled. "Connor, the school is going into lockdown. We have a report of a potentially armed individual in the building. Turn off all lights and stay put. Do not leave the basement under any circumstances. Do not call out unless it's an emergency. We'll notify you when it's safe." The line went dead. My hands were shaking as I set down the phone. Armed individual. In the building. I immediately switched off all the lights in the office and shut down my computer monitor, plunging the space into darkness except for the faint glow from my phone screen. I texted Dave and Gary, "You guys okay? We're in lockdown." No response. I sent another message. Someone with a weapon supposedly in building. Be careful. Still nothing. I sat in the dark, playing mindless games on my phone, trying to distract myself from the creeping dread. 20 minutes passed. The basement was eerily quiet. I couldn't hear anything from upstairs. No intercom announcements reached down here. I was completely isolated. Then I heard it, the distinctive creak of the basement door opening. My entire body went rigid. The creaking echoed to the basement, getting louder as the door swung fully open. Then footsteps, quick, urgent, on the stairs. Someone was running down toward my office. Should I call out? What if it was Dave or Gary? I wanted information desperately, but something made me hesitate. The footsteps got closer. Fast. Purposeful. I pushed back my chair as quietly as possible and crawled under my desk, pulling my knees to my chest. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it might give away my position. Someone entered the office. I could hear their breathing, heavy like they'd been running. They didn't turn on the lights, just stood there in the doorway. Silence. Horrible, suffocating silence. I held my breath, pressed against the back panel of the desk, praying they couldn't hear my racing heartbeat. One wrong sound, and I was dead. I was absolutely certain of this. Then my phone dinged. The notification sound might as well have been a gunshot. I clenched my teeth so hard my jaw ached, every muscle in my body screaming. The footsteps moved closer, directly toward my desk. I couldn't take it anymore. In a moment of pure panic, I dove out from under the desk with my hands up, words tumbling out. Please, don't kill me. Please, I'm not. A hand grabbed my arm and pulled me upright. Whoa, hey, it's okay. In the dim light from the hallway, I could make out a man in his 30s, wearing a red plaid button-up shirt, jeans, and a reddish-black baseball cap. He held both hands up in a calming gesture. It's okay, he repeated. I'm just hiding down here with you. We're safe down here, right? My brain was struggling to process. What's happening up there? He glanced toward the stairs. Is there another exit down here? Besides those stairs? Yeah, I said, still catching my breath. Through that hallway, past the storage area. Why? Good to know. He nodded, seeming to relax slightly. Something fell off. Who are you? Are you a parent or? He hesitated just a fraction too long. I was coming to pick up my son when a teacher told me to hide. Figured the basement was safest. That's when I remembered my phone, the notification that had nearly got me killed. I looked down at the screen and saw a text from Dave. Dude, this is fucking crazy. Some guy with a gun shot Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and a hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs. Red shirt. Hat. The blood drained from my face as I slowly lifted my eyes from the phone to the man standing 3 feet away from me. He saw my expression change, saw the recognition and fear flash across my face. His entire demeanor shifted. I ran. I didn't think. I just bolted for the stairs. Behind me, I heard him shout something, and then, bang. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed basement. I heard the bullet ricochet off something metal. One of the old filing cabinets, maybe. As I took the stairs 3 at a time, my legs burning with adrenaline, I burst through the basement door into the main hallway and nearly collided with 2 police officers who'd been stationed at the exit. Basement! I screamed. He's in the basement. The officers moved immediately, weapons drawn, positioning themselves at the doorway. One of them pushed me behind him. Stay back. Within seconds, more officers appeared. I stood there shaking, watching them secure the area. When the man emerged from the basement with his hands up, they tackled him to the ground and cuffed him so fast it was almost surreal. Later, I learned the full story. Mr. Buckley, our chemistry teacher, had survived the shooting. The bullet had gone through his shoulder, missing anything vital. He was going to be okay. The shooter, whose name I won't repeat, had some kind of personal grudge against Mr. Buckley. The details were never fully released, but everyone who knew Mr. Buckley agreed there was nothing he could have possibly done to deserve being shot. They gave me the rest of the week off. I spent at my apartment, unable to sleep properly, jumping at every unexpected sound. The sound of that gunshot echoing through the basement plays on repeat in my head during quiet moments. I still work at the school. I love my job, and I refuse to let one violent person take that away from me. But the basement door now has a working lock. The IT office has an actual door installed, and I never, ever eat lunch alone anymore. Some days, I think about how close I came. How if my phone hadn't dinged at exactly that moment, I might have stayed hidden, he might have left, or worse, he might have found me anyway in the dark with no witnesses. I think about Mr. Buckley, who came back to teaching after his recovery with the same enthusiasm and kindness he'd always had, despite having every reason to quit. And I think about how quickly normal can shatter, how a regular Wednesday eating a turkey sandwich can transform into the most terrifying experience of your life in the span of a phone call. The school installed panic buttons in every room after that incident. They upgraded security, added cameras, hired actual security personnel. But none of those measures erased the memory of running for my life while a bullet screamed past me in the dark.